Ron, thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. For those who've not had a chance to meet you, could you share with everyone your name, your company name, and where you guys are located?
Sure. My name is Ron Frame Jr. I'm from Champion Exteriors. I'm the owner. We're from Hainesport, New Jersey, outside Philadelphia.
Very good. Very good. We're talking for a great reason. Really, the last 18 months, business has been on a solid upswing. Chance to brag a little bit. What sales have been up? Well, you tell everybody. I'll get out of your way.
So our sales are up 117%. Before we started with CertainPath, 2022, we did 2.7 million. 2023, we did 4.9 million. And year to date for 2024, we're just around 6.5. So we're on pace to do over 10.
Whoa, that's fantastic. You guys have been very busy. How have the margins been? Margins been solid too?
So that was something that we had to work on. As soon as we came back from our first executive perspective, one of my weaknesses was accounting. So we did some job costing and realized that margins were nowhere near where they were supposed to be. And we're like, wow, we really got to fix this. So that was maybe like the second thing we did, other than the straightforward price guide, was fix the margins on the replacement side.
That's great. That's great. So you're starting to finally make what you're you bring it in, you want to keep some of it, right? So it's starting to get that fixed. That's great. Well, how does that make you feel then, to kind of have that confidence that you finally know their numbers a little bit, whereas before, obviously, you knew the trade and you knew how to sell because you guys are a good-sized business, but it's always more reassuring when you know you're keeping more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. My weakness was finance in itself. Yeah. And it wasn't a secret that, the finances were a mess. And I really didn't understand any of the reporting aspect of it. And so once we brought a full-time bookkeeper, controller in, and had her start running numbers and everything, then it was very clear to me where the problem was so that I could address it faster. And it just takes a little bit of that worry out of your mind, like, I'm going to sell this roof at X amount of dollars and I hope I make money off of it. It's not like that anymore.
Right. When did you feel like you turned the corner on that? You're like, oh, wow, I see what we're actually doing here versus just, worrying about sales and hoping you had some left over.
I would say about 6 months after our first EP was when we really started fixing stuff. So the first 90 days, we wanted to implement everything. And we tried.
Yeah.
And crashed and burned a little bit and kind of had to burn it to the ground and rebuild it a little bit and restructure some things. And there were some people that didn't really like what we were doing or just didn't understand the context of what we were doing. So we had to burn it to the ground, rebuild it. But at that 6-month mark, we're like, okay, we're job costing. Our blended gross margin is at 52%, which is right where they want us to be. And you can just kind of see into the future a little bit more clear. And it definitely felt like, okay, we're turning the page.
Support for this podcast comes from Train and American Standard. The Train and American Standard Diagnostics mobile apps are a technician support tool with many features to help technicians better install and service systems in communicating and 24-volt applications. When installing Train and American Standard Link equipment, our latest communicating technology, technicians can connect to the equipment via Bluetooth through the Train or American Standard Diagnostics mobile app while on the job site. Once connected, technicians have access to a dashboard of features, including real-time sensor readings, fault conditions, the ability to view or change system settings, automatic charging, and more without standing at the thermostat. Support for this podcast comes from Shuby. Keeping your client's floors clean can be a hassle, but it doesn't have to be when you use Shuby's high-quality shoe covers and surface protection products on every job. Our products are specifically designed to showcase your professionalism at a minimal cost per job. Made from strong, durable materials that won't rip or tear, our products ensure maximum protection. We know that your time is valuable, and that's why we make it our mission to provide you with the tools you need to get the job done quickly and efficiently. So why wait? Visit www.shuby.com to check out some of our great products and use code SC10 to get 10% off all Shuby products.
That's exciting. We'll dig into the burning the ground because that's interesting. But I want to, before we get too far down that path, I want to talk about your background and the business's background. Now you are what, third generation roofer? Fourth generation. Okay, tell me the story about the family business.
So, 1936, my great grandfather started a roofing company, and around 1960, my grandfather took over. 1989, my father took over, and we've done all different types of stuff. We've been in the Roofers Union, did a ton of commercial work, lots of new construction. And as I grew up, my grandfather and my father, they did business in a different era, and it's done a lot differently. So my dad was always like, "Don't do construction; it's too hard. Go do something." So I didn't start construction, although I was on the roof at 11. I was a police officer. So I was a police officer. Yeah, I was a police officer for 3 years, and come to find out, I hated it.
Yeah.
I just didn't like it. So I came back to construction, and I started working with my dad. And I said, you know what? This is like my heritage, and I like doing this, but it doesn't have to be this hard, because I was physically working. I had tools on, and I was running jobs. I was running work. I was project managing. I was installing, and I was like, there's got to be some way that we could do a better job and grow this company, because I gave up a full-time job with health benefits and all kinds of perks.
Sure.
Come back to construction. So fast forward a couple years, I took over the company in 2016, and we rebranded to what is now Champion Exteriors.
I was going to ask about that. That's okay.
Yeah, and I opened another office, and I said, I got to get help. Like I can't do this whole thing by myself. So 2022, September of 2022, I was searching on Indeed, the resume search, and I found Matt, who's now our general manager.
Okay.
And he came in for an interview. We clicked, and we both kind of had the same goal. Like, I have something here, let's grow it.
Yeah.
And after that, it spread like wildfire. And he kind of led us to CertainPath, because he had some experience in the HVAC field.
Oh, interesting.
So that's kind of how we landed at CertainPath. And, after that, like I said, it just spread like wildfire. And we really started pushing.
Yeah.
And nonstop pushed ever since.
That's great. So how did that conversation go? Matt go, hey, Ron, I think there's an organization that can help us provide some systems and structure, and and I think we should check it out. Or did someone call you cold from us? And Matt, said, oh yeah, I know that group. How did that relationship start?
So he was trained by, I believe it was one of CertainPath competitors.
Okay.
And he had reached out to the rep, and they're like, hey, we don't do roofing.
Yeah.
But CertainPath does. Guys would really benefit for, going to talk to the guys at CertainPath.
Yeah.
So and I'm not sure who we talked to on the phone, but we got right into the first profit day that we could. Mm-hmm. And Patrick had sat with me at the table, and a big turning point for me was when you sit at profit day and they do like the calculations based on your area and how many people are in your area and your single family homes. So other than Los Angeles, our market here in New Jersey is the densest market in the country.
Right.
And so we're in Ohio, we're outside of Cleveland, and he's pointing around the room, and he's like, all right, you guys, your population in the 30-mile radius is 300,000. Your population is 200,000. And he pointed at us and he goes, your population is 5 million. I was like, whoa. and they came up with the formula, and they're like, the amount of single family homes in the 30-mile radius is like something crazy, like 700,000 homes.
Yeah.
And right there, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
If anybody has potential, it's right in this spot that I'm in. So I signed right up. No apprehension, no nothing. I was like, we got to do this.
Yeah.
We're going to pay for it, but we're going to do it.
Well, you pay for it, you just keep making money and you keeping it, like we were talking about earlier. So you were excited. You were like, we've got lots of opportunity here. We just need to refine the business. You're all in at profit day. Next step is executive perspective. That was what, a month later in Dallas, correct?
Yeah, it was the end of January 2023.
Very good. And EP, for those who executive perspective, we call it EP for shorthand. With CertainPath, it's pretty much a week of just a intense boot camp. What were your thoughts of that week?
So when we started, there was a lot of things that I didn't understand, and then I got to sit with the coaches and kind of talk, and they kind of talked and asked me questions. They're like, all right, well, you should talk to this person. You should talk to this person and make sure that you're really paying attention in this class. So when it came to some of my weak points, which was finance, sitting in that finance class with Sarah was like life changing, because I could barely open the QuickBooks app versus reading reports, generating reports. So that was a game changer for me.
That's great.
The marketing section and understanding where your margin has to be. So the pricing, the proper pricing model, understanding where your margin has to be so that you're covering your overhead expenses. I would say that was the game changer for me.
Yeah.
Understanding why I was doing so much business. I was consecutively losing money every year.
Yeah. Yeah. So at that point, you guys were losing money, even though you had these solid sales. You were losing money.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's frustrating, especially when you're working that hard. Roofing's not an easy business in any way. All right. So you were eager. You left Dallas. You're like, we're ready to go. Did Matt go with you, or did you go solo?
No, he came with me.
Okay, very good. So what kind of a game plan did you guys leave with, or was it like, I think you just said, we're going to do everything we can as fast as we can?
So after day 2 of EP,
yeah,
we're in the hotel, and I have the book in front of me on a table, and I was just like, oh boy. I was like, this is a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, I figured it out, man. We got to figure it out. So when we got back from EP, we have a big whiteboard in our office. We wrote everything that we learned versus everything that we're having a problem with. We kind of identified the biggest problems that we had first and kind of went at it that way.
Yeah.
The biggest problem to us that we thought was hindering our progress.
That's fascinating.
And acted that way.
Well, what do you remember? I mean, you mentioned obviously learning your numbers, right, in books. That was a big problem. But what were some of the other things you went, you know what, we do have an issue here in the business with that?
Trying to price repairs.
Yeah.
Not advertising enough. I thought that I was spending enough in advertising, but I certainly was not. I was not at the recommended spend. So that was a big one. We had to triple what we were advertising and get leads in. Pricing repairs for sure. I mean, we were doing it all wrong without the straightforward price guide. And I don't know what we would do without that thing. We use it every minute.
That's great.
So, and I was always a firm believer, even prior to me even hearing about CertainPath, I knew for a fact that we had to do repairs. I just always had a gut feeling like you got to do that so that you can at least the other work, and it's a stable market. So I already had that understanding. I just couldn't really, put the pin on like what we were supposed to be doing or how it was supposed to be oriented. So
yeah,
I got my hands on that straightforward price guide. I was like, it was like the Bible. I was like, this is it. I found it.
It's always amazing. Well, I guess, if you're in the roofing industry long enough, everyone thinks about replacements, re-roofs, whatever you want to call it. But the margins and repairs are so good. They're so good. And like you said, it just leads to future work, because it's like, once you do a good job for them, first of all, they're going to have you, you need a new roof 5 years later, let's do that. Oh, doors, windows. I mean, you become their company. So it's just a great thing. All right. So you said repair pricing. We talked about advertising. What were some other things you're like, this is an issue in the company?
We definitely were struggling with the call center and call intake.
Okay.
And we got to take a tour of Milestone.
Oh, yeah.
Had set that up for us. So we actually went to Milestone first before we even went to EP. And I got to see Milestone's call center, and I was just looking around, and I'm like, whoa,
yeah,
this is next level. And after seeing their call center and going through call intake and CCR dispatch and dispatching for profits,
mm-hmm.
a bad CSR department can ruin a business.
Yes.
It all starts with booking appointments over the phone.
Right.
And we were definitely doing that wrong and not maximizing the opportunities right from the get-go. And we had a lot of issues that we had to fix as far as dispatch and call intake.
Yeah. How about sales? Did you feel like your guys, or I'm not sure how you guys are built, what your model is, if it's all salespeople or technicians that sell, but did you have a solid process in place, or is that needed some tweaking as well?
So we definitely tweaked it. Matt, our GM, is a sales manager by trade. So that was one of the things that he had a strong hold on versus I'm more operation.
Right.
And that's why we kind of balanced. But we definitely had to implement some different training strategies into the sales reps. We already had sales reps when we went to EP, but tracking their numbers and making sure that we're holding them accountable to their closing percentages was very important. Doing new types of training, whether it's product training or sales training, and we restructured how we do our repairs. So we have selling techs, which isn't really like a super popular model. A lot of guys have sales reps sell their repairs, and we just felt that we like selling service techs better, and we had to learn how to pay them, learn how to structure their day, learn how to dispatch them, and set that whole department up. So that was one of the things that we had to build up when we got back.
Sure.
The service department in itself.
I haven't done this as long as I have. I know plenty of really good members right now that do just the same model, and it works great. You got to find what you're comfortable with, and if that's what works for you, clearly it's working, and you've got it in place. What do you remember? What do you remember is maybe you know what? Let's backtrack a bit. You said burn to the ground earlier, and you really caught my attention. And I'm guessing I know what happened, but I want to hear from you. What you start making all these changes, you get excited, right? You're like, I know this is stuff that we need to do. I know I've got a group now to work with me and show me how to do it. But then maybe there's not always that buy-in with the team, right? So I'm guessing that's what you kind of ran into.
Yeah, not everybody loved the changes that we made, and I can't explain to somebody what they're doing if they're not open to changing and they just want to stay the same. Yes. And there was a couple things that that we had to kind of burn to the ground essentially. And Brandon Marshall said it the best when he said sometimes you just got to burn the field, start it all over. And that we've done that a couple times.
Yeah.
Our CSR, our call center has been burnt to the ground twice.
Yeah.
And now it's stronger than it's ever been. Our service department and our service techs and the guys that worked in it has been burnt to the ground twice, and now it's stronger than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And it's some of it's like trial by fire.
Sure.
And that's just the reality of it is if you can't get them to change, they're just in your way.
Yeah.
And I always had this apprehension, like, all right, these people have been here for a long time, they're loyal to me. But at the end of the day, if they weren't willing to change, were they really loyal to me? Not really. And that doesn't come about until they're gone.
Yeah.
And all the other stuff follows.
Yeah. Where did you gain that confidence to pull the trigger on those difficult decisions? Because I'll tell you, doing this again, 20 years and talking to I don't know how many contractors, that's the biggest thing that holds people up. And sometimes it takes guys 10 years. They go, I finally had to let go of this one key person I thought I couldn't do without. But you did it right away. So where did that come from?
So after we had burnt the CSR call center department to the ground, in my head, I was like, oh my goodness, who's going to answer the phones? Like, what are we going to do? And everybody else that really was a key team player jumped in and helped until we got new people on the phone.
Yeah.
And after we had gotten it back up and stabilized it, I was like, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
I really wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to go. And so at that point, I wasn't afraid to pull the trigger when I knew we were at the point where we couldn't continue and we had to either get somebody out of the way and get new people in or whatever the problem was. I would just do it, make a decision. The more you wait on things, the worse it's going to get.
Absolutely.
And the harder it is to do, the more you wait.
For people that are listening or watching that want to learn how to get better, you burnt your call center down twice. What are some hard lessons learned that you would go, say I called you as a member and I went, tell me what you did or what you learned from that difficult experience that I should do so I don't have to suffer through those difficulties. Well, what are some things you'd recommend?
So I think in a world of scarce employees and competent employees, even though there's not a lot of competent people out there as how it seems, be picky when you do your interviews. Be very picky. Pay top dollar, be very picky, and don't just hire somebody, don't just hire a body, because at the end of the day, that'll come back to bite you. And then it's hindering your progress when you don't hire the right people. Right. And one of the things that I was taught by my coach was, quick to fire, slow to hire.
Yep.
And I live by that. You really got to go to the greatest extent to make sure you're hiring the right people. You can't do this by yourself. I know that for a fact. I have an excellent team here. I couldn't do it without them. Yeah. But they were all handpicked, and it was a very slow process. I really had to get the feeling like you were going to come here and be part of the team.
Yeah.
And that would be my advice to somebody that's afraid, that's going to happen. When you burn to the ground, don't just put a person in that chair just to fill the space. Be picky.
How did you change your interview process to make sure you had the right person? Were you starting to ask different questions? Were you, having several rounds of interviews or multiple people interview? Talk to me about how you got better at that.
So we do a 3-stage interview. So we do a phone screening, and then we'll do an initial round interview with the department manager, whoever's whatever that person's applying for, their department manager. And then the third interview is myself and the rest of the admin team.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if somebody really wasn't meant to be at your company, they won't show up to the second or the third interview, and it just weeds them out. So you're not having to hire them, and then 2 weeks later they don't show up for work. And now you're like twiddling your thumbs, you don't know what to do.
Right.
So definitely adding the tiered interview stages helped 100%, and it made it slower. And you just have to have patience for it.
Yeah. That still blows me away. I guess I'm old school. People just don't show up to interviews, but better to no show for an interview than no show for work.
Right.
What kind of, are you paying more attention to the type of personalities that make those positions successful, or you were trying to hone in on so-and-so, maybe they're outgoing or they're detail-oriented, or any other little tidbits that you took from rebuilding your call center that, through hiring properly, that you could pass along to someone else?
So we make sure that you're actually calling all the references, and you really have to read in between the lines of the resume.
Yeah.
If the resume is put together kind of sloppy, what does it say about their person? I look at previous employment history, people that have long tenure at other jobs. I'm more attracted to. It shows they had some type of loyalty, and maybe, it was an unfortunate event as to why they're not at their other company or something specific happened. But when I see somebody's resume come across the computer and there's 400 jobs on it, I don't really like that.
Yeah, sure.
And there's definitely personality traits. It depends on what the job is, and you have to dig into their work history and their personality to really find out who they are. And I feel like they open up more as they go through the interview process. And by the time they get to the third interview, they're like telling you their life story. You're not,
right.
Sometimes you're not specifically allowed to even ask their life story, but
sure,
they
volunteer it.
Yeah, they'll tell you that, and they start to open the shell a little bit. You really get to see who they are.
That's great. We're talking about the people side of fixing your call center. There's also the process side of it, right? There's just about everything. Are there certain processes or things that you implemented in your call center that made it run more effectively, over the last 18 months?
Sure. So one of the things that we did when we came back from EP, we went crazy with operating procedures and writing them down and having them in a book and making sure there was a process on how things were done, and running reports and holding people accountable to the numbers. That was one of the biggest things. Why are you not at a 90% call booking rate?
Right.
Okay, I'm not sitting here picking you apart. I'm saying, it's me and you versus the problem, not me versus you. And act like you're on their team. They're like, all right, this is a plan of action, what we're going to do to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And so we put a ton of SOPs into the call center specifically to make it run better as far as call booking percentage, when to start outbound calling. Don't wait till 3:00 in the afternoon.
Oh yeah.
There's no calls on the board. And so now we check the calls from the previous year on the same day and have them up on our call like scoreboard. And so we know, like, hey, we've got to beat this goal from last year. If this day last year yielded one call, right out of the gate, we're going to start outbound calling, because it's scary how consistent the weeks are, when they're slow. Like, right now it's July. This is a very slow part of the year, especially close to 4th of July.
Sure.
So when the girls come in the morning, we're outbound calling all day.
That's good.
We check the numbers from the year before.
Good for you. When they make those outbound calls, what are they offering so you can get in front of them? Is it just free inspections? Is it, hey, we were out and we offered you a new roof, you declined, or hey, we offered a repair, or you took this one, but there's a couple other things. What's your approach to outbound?
So we do a strategy. We want to do rehash first. So we'll go through all the leads that the sales reps went out to, and they were demoed, but they weren't sold.
Sure.
And so the outbound call is almost like a rehash, like, hey, what happened here? And so the girls will try and get the customer on the phone.
Yeah.
And we'll wheel and deal over the phone if we have to. They'll get the sales manager on the phone, and they'll try and close something over the phone, or we'll get a reset appointment. So that's option number one. Go through the people that we've already been out to. The next step we do is we go through the calls that the sales reps ran that they didn't demo. So we have a estimate demoed and an estimate not demoed. So they'll go through the estimate not demoed, dig into the notes in the CRM and figure out, okay, why wasn't it demoed? Oh, the husband wasn't there, or the wife wasn't there. So those, they'll try and reset appointments and get the guys back out on appointments. Then after that, they'll go to unsold service tickets, and they'll just go through all the service tickets and do follow-up calls and see if, hey, was there something we could do? Sometimes we'll give an incentive for the day if we know call volume is going to be slow. We'll pull out like a specific financing package and be like, hey, listen, everybody that you're talking to, we're going to do 2.99 for 144 months through X bank.
Yeah.
And just get people's attention. Let's get some guys out on some roofs. That's all we got to do is get them on the roof, and then they'll do their job from there.
Sure.
So sometimes we'll put that on the board in the CSR room, and they'll use that as a tactic to customers on the phone.
That's great. Now, are they incentivized? Do they have some kind of a spiff for they close something, they get someone on site again, or are they just hourly employees?
So they get a $10 spiff if they get an outbound call, and then they get 2% of the total ticket if they get an outbound call, but that's a rehash, and sales rep goes out and closes it. The sales rep actually will get docked 2 points, and the CSR will get 2 points.
Hey, that's a lead that they didn't have. That's a lead they didn't have. Yeah, for sure. I'd take it all day versus sitting at home or go fishing or something. So
absolutely.
That's great. Those are good nuggets. The other thing you mentioned, CC, the call center burned to the ground. Repair department had to get burnt to the ground a couple times. So I wanted to follow up on that. Well, what are some hard lessons learned that, again, if I called you as a new member, went, hey, what don't I want to do? What did you learn?
So trying to find roofing repair techs, I feel is very unique in the fact that the majority of the roofing community is Latino. Mm-hmm. So not everybody that we get in can speak good English.
Sure.
So that was a big thing. When you send somebody to the house that and there's a language barrier, that becomes a problem. And that's kind of like a special thing just in roofing. Sure. That's just what it is. And so we definitely had the wrong techs that had the wrong mindset. They were just selling stuff just to sell it, and they weren't fixing anything. So they weren't presenting 3 options. They weren't trying to build the tickets up, and they weren't flipping anything. Yeah. So we give them an incentive to flip to the sales department and vice versa.
Sure.
They weren't really doing any of that. They were just kind of driving around writing estimates. And that was it. Like, well, you're driving around in a truck that gets 8 miles to the gallon.
Yeah.
With $20,000 worth of tools in it, $10,000 worth of materials. We got to make something happen. We are super picky who we have do our repairs for us, and that is one of the most difficult positions to find.
Oh yeah.
If it takes us 6 months to find a tech, nonstop looking, then it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we got rid of all of our techs We had to restructure how their trucks are set up. We had too much stuff in their trucks. They couldn't move in the back. We had to up our level of the straightforward price guide because it wasn't enough just because of our workers' comp and our costs associated with being in New Jersey are like 10 times what they are in Texas.
Sure.
And so we had to adjust our straightforward price guide a little bit and up it a couple times to make sure that we were getting the margins that we needed.
Good for you.
We had to up the pay for the techs. Definitely had to up the pay. I mean, you know, in New Jersey, it's one of the most expensive labor markets outside of like Manhattan, New York, and you got to pay up for the techs. Man, there's not a lot of them out there, and you got to create an environment where they want to come to work. You got to give them as much opportunity as possible, and at the end of the day, it'll come back to you tenfold. You know, when you treat them very well, and you know, I go out of my way to get them real nice uniforms, set their trucks up. I'll buy the service techs whatever tool they need to do their job easier, all the safety stuff, all battery powered tools, everything.
Yeah.
And you really got to make them feel like they're wanted here, and they'll work wonders for you. They really will. And I couldn't fit that into the guides that we had. They just didn't get it. They were like too polluted.
Yeah.
And so after I had burnt the CSR department to the ground, I'm like, okay, break the torch out.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. Well, you had that confidence that, hey, it worked there. Probably can work over here too.
Yeah. Figure it out. We did. We figured out a system in the interim to still sell the repairs, get them done. And, you know, we ended up firing 2 techs and just hired 1. We're operating with 1 right now.
Yeah. I was just going to ask, so you've got 1 repair tech right now.
Yep.
And he's selling all repairs, and he's doing replacements as well, or do you have anyone else doing new roof sales?
We have 5 outside sales reps do residential repairs, 1 commercial, and one service tech.
Very good. Your tech that worked out, what was his background? I'm always intrigued. So it sounds like he was experienced, right?
He was doing warranty repairs for a very big competitor in our market, a very, very, very large corporate roofing and siding company, but he was only doing warranty repairs. He wasn't allowed to sell anything. In the interview, he was like, I would go to Mrs. Smith's house, and she's in the front yard yelling at me because something's messed up, and I'm just there to go fix it. He was like, sure. It was a little demoralizing.
Oh yeah.
And I said, they don't let you sell any work. He was like, no, not at all. I said, well, you're going to sell work here.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, absolutely. And so we onboarded him, which was another big thing that we implemented into the company as a whole, is onboarding people and taking the time to not just throw them in their job.
Yep.
Kind of weed them into it. So we onboarded him for about 2 weeks, and he's been killing it ever since.
That's great.
He just sells repairs, and then when he's doing his roof inspection, if it starts to come to the point where the roof's beyond its lifespan, he'll call into the office and be like, hey, we need a sales rep out here. And then the techs get a 2% if they flip.
Yeah.
And then the sales reps get 2%, but it's a tech lead. Tech leads are very warm.
Absolutely.
1.5. So that's what they do.
Yeah, I'll take the much higher closing percentage on that job versus a marketed lead that's cold with somebody that is even wishy-washy. They're going to get 7 more bids after you. So, yeah, I'll pay that 2% all day long. Oh, that's great. Are there any other little tidbits that you learned in how you structured repairs? How to dispatch them the right way, how to, it sounds, you hit a lot of things, making sure that they're well taken care of, great uniforms, great equipment. He feels the love, right? You onboard him the right way. Anything else you learned on how to restructure your repair department?
When prior to me burning the service department to the ground, I didn't have regular meetings with those guys.
Yeah.
And we kind of turned a blind eye to them. So at the end of the day, they're like sales reps. And most companies don't, that have sales reps, they have sales meetings for that purpose. Exactly. You got to sit down with them. Hey, are you okay? Are you having any, you struggling with anything? Hey, I saw you did this, that, last week. That was really good. I saw, that was a big service ticket that you got in on Monday. Good job. High fives, praise in public, criticize the private, and having their regular, like a service meeting, which is like their sales meeting, was very important. And being consistent. Don't miss that meeting. You got to have it every week.
Yeah, that's great.
Support for this podcast comes from Synchrony. Ever wonder how to calculate your true cost of financing and how to fit the price of financing into your business and pricing for products and services? In Synchrony's new and improved Toolbox website, you can easily calculate your cost of credit, view educational videos, and learn more about Synchrony's digital tools. Simply go to toolbox.syf.com to explore and learn more. And Staples. Staples is the leading provider in office supplies, offering a vast selection of products and services. Over the last 2 years, Staples has also become one of the largest janitorial suppliers in the U.S. as well. From your everyday business essentials to your office furniture, printing, facilities, and break room, Staples can do it all. Staples offers benefits to help create efficiencies in procurement and consolidate vendors to streamline internal processes. Visit staplesadvantage.com to learn more.
You mentioned you refitted the trucks, right? Wanted to touch into that. Were you just carrying too much material? Did you need to streamline the material? What, that all adds to the bottom line when you get that right? So how did you tweak that?
We were putting way too much stuff in the service trucks. Yeah. And, it's not like plumbing, it's not like lots of little parts, all kinds of stuff that has to go in our trucks. Yeah. So we really filtered through what we weren't using and made it more user-friendly for the tech to get his stuff out of the truck instead of having to search through a maze, just to get a box of nails out of his truck.
Right.
And just simplified it. He didn't need that much stuff in the truck, so we took almost half of what was in there out.
Okay, there you go. Very good. And also, if I'm not mistaken, you guys sell a club membership. Do you sell the Overhead Care Club?
Absolutely.
That's great. So that's your repair tech selling that, right? How's that going?
So we let anybody sell them.
Okay.
CSR reps will sell them over the phone. The sales reps can sell them. We have about 35 members so far, and we tweak it a little bit. We tweaked it here and there, sure. But in January, when it's super slow, it works, man. It really does.
Yeah.
Just getting the tech out to the roof, we call it boots on the roof. Just give boots on the roof.
Yeah.
And he'll do his job from there. He knows how to diagnose roofs. Just get him out there. Yeah. And, that's the purpose of it, and it works 100%. And we firmly believe that if you're not using the club membership, you're missing out.
Yeah. And because I saw your website, I was like, oh, maintenance. I saw a roofer with talking about maintenance. I'm like, I had to bring it up with you. And when he goes on the roof, and he does an honest inspection, right? He fills it out, just presents the homeowner with what's going on, give them some options. And, we're not, just for people that don't know our system, we're not ever teaching anybody to sell something that's not needed. We're just educating people and letting them make a decision, right? So that's kind of how your tech approaches it. Does what, a 17-point inspection or something similar?
Yeah, we use the 17-point inspection form, and they'll go up on the roof and do the full inspection. The problem is that a lot of the homeowners don't realize that the roof needs maintenance.
Sure.
And even in a 6-month span, I would say 90% of the time that they're going on an inspection, there is actual damage on that roof that needs to be repaired. It might be small and minuscule, but most of the time, like 90% of the time, it's something is wrong with the roof that just has to be adjusted or or fixed. Doesn't necessarily have to be replaced, but you're staying in front of those customers. You know, that's the point. Even if they just go there for, you know, what's included, which is the inspection and the gutter cleaning, even if they just go there for that, you're still staying in contact with the customer, and that's what's most important. Staying with the customer so they know that you're still there and that you didn't go anywhere.
Absolutely. I didn't ask you, do you do much insurance, or is it mostly, you know, we call retail sales, and both on the repair and replacement side?
We are 100% retail, no insurance.
Good for you. Good for you. That makes it a lot easier. A lot easier.
Some of the guys that do insurance, especially when I'm down in Texas or at one of the trainings, they're like, "You don't do any insurance?" I'm like,
"Yeah."
Oh, how's the hail here? We don't get hail in our market ever.
Really? That's interesting.
Not at all. I mean, every once in a couple of years, we'll get a hurricane.
Right.
You know, they had thunderstorms, but we don't get hail here. And insurance rules are very, very different here. You know, it's not very common that they're getting a roof bought through the homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
So we are 100% retail. And even if it is a insurance claim, we would make the homeowner deal with it. We're not going to deal with it.
Good for you. Good for you.
I've been told that it's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's always a hot topic. Let's just put it that way. We'll talk about the actual production process on roofs. That's been a hot topic. We talked about it at the last expo. Did you find, is that anything you needed to tweak or improve over the last 18 months? Or were you pretty happy with how you're getting roofs put on, and you guys communicated well with sales, and, you know, there's no, we put the wrong kind of shingle on, they wanted this, or well, what's the status of that department?
So we definitely had to connect sales and production a little better in the exchange of information. We had Job Nimbus, our CRM, come out and help us out with integrating our software a little bit better so that both sides of the business talk to each other.
That's great.
As far as the install process, that was kind of like my specialty. So I was a stickler for installing it the right way.
Yeah.
But as far as install goes, one of the big things for me was we cut back on W-2 labor and started using way more 1099 labor.
Okay.
Because the workers' comp and the payroll taxes were killing us.
Yeah.
And that was a massive portion of our profit and loss.
Sure. Do you have like a job superintendent on site, or do the salespeople manage the jobs, or how do you keep an eye on what your crews are doing day in and day out?
So we put a job super on every job. We don't let any of the crews go unsupervised. Yeah. Ever. And I was always a firm believer in that, even prior to CertainPath. They always have to be watched, because you never know what's going to happen. And they're also the liaison for the customer.
Sure, exactly. Do they stay on site the entire time, or will they manage several jobs?
It's a mix. When we're doing, so we do a little bit more than roofing. We'll do roofing, siding, windows, doors. Roofs, they're on the job the whole time. They're normally a day. Siding, sometimes they'll run 2 siding jobs, but we don't send them all over the place. So they'll be there a couple times throughout the day. We really don't want the guys to go unsupervised for more than a couple hours. Yeah,
that's great. You know, that I forgot to bring that up, but it is a good point I do want to ask you about. You're not just a roofing company, you're an exteriors company. How much is your repair tech or your supers, or maybe your sales guys go, hey, I came out here for a siding job, but, Mrs. Jones, that roof looks, did you know this is going on? Or, hey, that door is paint's peeling. It's, how much do you cross sell while you're on sites and doing work already?
All the time. And that's one of the things that's brought up in those weekly meetings. Yeah. That was super important. It's like, guys, you're going to miss opportunities. You don't have to go sell Mrs. Jones something. Just go, hey, listen, I'm here. Why don't I check your roof while I'm here? And just present her the options. That's what you're doing. Yeah. And that has worked out, but we push that at our sales meetings and our service meetings. Like, hey guys, listen, this, you guys got to check, open your eyes when you're there and check the roof, check the windows, check the siding. Don't waste an opportunity, because there's times where opportunities are like this, and there's times where opportunities are like this, and you never know when they're going to be like this. So maximize every opportunity that you do have.
That's great. I guess in the terms of lead gen and finding more business, I'm sure you're doing the yard signs, right? Traditional roofing yard signs. Are you doing much door knocking or door hangers, anything like that? Any of that kind of stuff working for you?
We do a little bit of everything. So we do have our sales reps door knock. We do the clover leafing, which, we're checking on the jobs that are around a current job that we have going on. We have door hangers. I mean, we do all types of marketing. We do community events. They work very well for us. The typical stuff, the Google, the Facebook. We do a ton on Facebook. That seems to work very well at a low cost. And this year we just started radio and TV.
Okay.
And that has really excelled.
I was going to say, now that you mentioned that, I think your newest spot on Facebook. Didn't you just post it like a day or so ago? It was really well done.
Yeah.
Nice branding spot. Yeah.
The production company was relatively inexpensive to get the commercial done. I did a commercial with myself, my father, and people really loved that. And people call in, customers don't call in and say like, hey, I saw you on TV, I heard you on the radio. Every once in a while they do. What it did was it lowered the cost of Google, so that you could tell through our Google search that went way up when we implemented TV and radio.
And that's something. That's they got it. They go, oh yeah, I got it. That's where they go now. The yellow books are long gone. You go to Google, good old Google.
Yeah.
This has been really great. This has been great. So, Ron, I just to more questions, because just to kind of wrap things up. But what of all the things you've changed and you've done, what's been the biggest help, do you think, through this whole encounter?
The biggest change that I made is checking the numbers, and don't just ride off into the sunset and assume that everything's okay. Business is like a leaking pipe. You gotta fix a leak here. 10 feet down the line, you're gonna have another leak at some point.
Yeah.
And when you have your numbers and you're organized and you're checking everything, you can either foresee it coming or you can fix the problem as soon as it comes up. So for me, I could put a roof on blindfolded, but I couldn't generate or read a profit loss statement. So we check them monthly. We do monthly profit loss. We implemented quarterly meetings, biannual meeting, so that we could really understand, like, hey, the numbers don't lie, and this is where our problem lies. This is where we're going to start to look, and it points you in the direction of where your problem is. You can just fix them faster and get back on track. So I would say knowing my numbers was the biggest help to me by far.
What was the toughest change in looking back that maybe surprised you? Like, I didn't think it was going to be this hard, but it was.
There was a couple challenges. I wasn't big on the service fee.
Oh, okay.
I never understood why. Like, we're going to charge a service fee until you have the numbers and the data in front of you to prove that the guys close at a higher percentage on calls where the service fee is collected.
Yeah.
So I was a little apprehensive to the service fee. The straightforward price guide, I was a little apprehensive to that as well, and I really didn't understand how the formula worked.
Sure.
And as soon as we dialed it in and realized that we had to up what our techs are being paid, and we had to up the number of the book that we were using to make sure our pricing everything was in line.
Yeah.
Once we dialed that, I was like, whew, okay, we got it. But I was a little apprehensive of using that at first as well.
Sure. What was the easiest thing? You're like, okay, I don't know about this, and then it just went like that, and no big deal.
To be honest, one of the easiest things was getting my QuickBooks in line.
Yeah.
And getting all my reports. Like, I didn't realize it was easy. I was just ignorant to it, really. I was like, wow.
It's scary, too. Yeah.
Yeah, I can report at any time. And, they were like, yeah, it's that simple. So that was like my biggest struggle before. And then after it was done, I was like, wow, that was pretty easy.
Yeah.
Like that, you could get all your numbers and have them in front of you.
Yeah, for sure. Again, just kind of wrapping up. What do you, looking back, we've talked about what a journey in 18 months. My goodness, that's no time. How much has CertainPath helped you over this course? How excited are you about your future?
Oh yeah, I mean it's life changing, and one of the pretty special moments for me is I went back to EP a couple months ago, and I was sitting with a group of roofers, and knowing what I knew already, I could relate to what they were struggling with, and all I did was try and help. And and the whole time I was there, I'm like giving advice, like, listen, you got to try this, you got to do this, you got to just try it. I'm like, what the teacher is right. So that was very surreal to me. Like,
that's cool.
I remember sitting in that seat, but being with CertainPath it's life changing.
That's awesome.
We're in the business around 360, from consecutive losses to 117% growth is remarkable, and we're still pushing every day. So
for sure. Where do you see the company? I mean, you're a very young man. Where do you see the company 5, 10 plus years? What are your big goals?
Our 5-year goal when we went to EP in January of 23 was we wanted to do 9 figures in 5 years.
Yeah.
So that takes doubling almost every year. We'll almost triple in size this year.
Great.
We had a profit as well.
Yeah. That's amazing. All right. Last question. What would you say? We get a lot of people that watch, that listen, that are not members or just looking for advice, but what would you say to them about
you gotta go to Profit Day and don't fight it. I mean, guys have been doing stuff the same way for 10, 20, 30 years. You have to be bought in 100%. You can't fight what they're trying to tell you. They're telling you for a reason how to do it. And even though I hadn't been doing it a long time, when I went to Profit Day, when they showed how CertainPath works and kind of gave you a little taste of what you get to learn, I was like, wow, it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And not everybody takes it that way. And they get comfortable where they're at. You got to be willing to change it work.
You went in with the right mindset.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Well, Ron, thank you so much for all your time. I really enjoyed this conversation.
No problem.
Support for this podcast comes from Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby. Is maximizing reviews and referrals a priority for your business in the second half of the year? Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby are proud partners of CertainPath and can help you achieve more reviews and repeat business by working together to create value at each touchpoint in your customer's journey. Increasing your amount of Google reviews has a large impact on gaining more repeat and referral business. Pulse M Plus can help you achieve up to 3 times more reviews by automating review requests at the end of each job, and then Customer Lobby's unique algorithm follows up with your customer base at the optimal time to produce a response. Customer Lobby's direct mail postcards give your customers an extra way to keep your company top of mind when they need to schedule their next appointment with you. If you're looking to hear more about how we partner with CertainPath members or view a free demo for Pulse M Plus and Customer Lobby, we'd love to connect with you. Visit our link at get.pulsem.me/pm-plus-CertainPath. The Successful Contractor podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for over 25 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of 1,000 plus strong. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com or call 888-909-6604 for more information.